In the headlines tonight, Tanzanian doctor who succumbed to the Ebola virus yesterday buried at a public cemetery in Fort Portal City.
We've lost 2 so far.
Doctors' associations speak out on colleagues' death, demand for protective gear.
All regional referral hospitals should be equipped with enough PPEs at such a time.
What men need to do to avoid prostate cancer in later stages of life.
After 30 years, it goes on increasing in size for every man.
And in sports, a hat-trick from Haaland and Foden helped Manchester City defeat rivals United 6 goals to 3 in derby.
Hat-trick for Haaland, hat-trick for...
A very good evening to you. I trust your Sunday is going well. This is CTV PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Luchamuzi on sign language. In our top story tonight, a doctor who died of Ebola yesterday at Fort Portal Regional Referral Hospital has today been buried in a public cemetery in Fort Portal City. The facility yesterday confirmed the death of Dr. Muhammad Ali, a 37-year-old Tanzanian doctor who was pursuing a Master of Medicine in Surgery at Kampala International University. Take a look.
The body of the deceased doctor was today buried at a public cemetery in Fort Portal City by a team that was put in place to handle the burial of Ebola victims by the Kabarore District and Fort Portal City Ebola Task Force. According to the Fort Portal Resident City Commissioner Angalia Kasigwa, the decision to bury the doctor in Uganda was agreed upon the government of Uganda and Tanzania to avoid a transmission of the deadly disease.
Uganda, the government ya Tanzania, basazeyo mbagamba tumuziko wali Fort Portal. Era tugenda muzika lero tulirede budde bwonna tujagenda gwali ku cemetery tumuzike. Zali muntu naffe ate yafudde obulwadde bwe.
Fort Portal Regional Referral Hospital Director Dr. Alex Adaku says the intervention regulations dictate that epidemics of the nature like Ebola should be handled where they occur to avoid further spread.
So we have got clearance that we can be able to bury him in Fort Portal. I think this was a very good decision, and the decision has been taken in line with the international health regulations, which actually stipulates that it's important to have safe burial for cases of epidemics of this nature near where they occur.
Dr. Ali is the first doctor and second health worker to have succumbed to the Ebola virus. The first health worker to die of Ebola was a midwife from St. Flores Clinic. Dr. Adaku says the remaining 5 medics who are still being managed at the facility are in stable condition.
There have been a contact of those who were also involved in the first case. And one of the contacts was those friend, one of the students, confirmed positive. We are currently managing him. He's essentially okay. But we have to continue managing him also in isolation like others.
The hospital has been managing 6 health workers since Wednesday after they were transferred from Mubende Regional Referral Hospital to Fort Portal for proper management and treatment. The infected group comprised of 3 doctors, 2 nurses, and 1 anesthetist.
Health workers under their umbrella body, Uganda Medical Association, are now demanding for better protective gear to best protect themselves after one of their colleagues succumbed to the latest Ebola outbreak. Kevin Kasoma has the details.
Following the devastating Ebola pandemic, many frontline workers, such as doctors and nurses, continue to face the risk of contracting the deadly virus. The demise of Dr. Mohamed Ali, a medical intern at Fort Portal Regional Referral Hospital, to the Ebola virus brings the death toll of health workers to 2, an issue of concern to the Uganda Medical Association. While addressing journalists today at Mulago, different health practitioners from the different medical associations paid tribute to their counterpart who died in the line of duty before asking government to give them materials they need to combat the virus.
We've lost 2 so far. Yesterday we lost a KIU SHO. But remember, these SHOs who are deployed in these hospitals, they're not facilitated.
According to the president of the Uganda Medical Association, Dr. Samuel Odongo Oledo, government should equip all the health facilities with personal protective equipment, PPEs, to handle the Ebola outbreak in any part of the country.
All regional referral hospitals should be equipped with enough PPEs at such a time to be able to fight this deadly disease, because we have movements, free movements. So there are great chances that if these cases present themselves in the other regional referral hospitals, we must be well equipped, as is Mubende at such a time.
Dr. Odongo wants the Ministry of Health to conduct trainings for the medical interns at the forefront of the Ebola fight and to adequately compensate them.
The safety and appropriate medical care of medical workers serving in the Ebola treatment units, in the epidemic, and the care of those who have been infected and hospitalized in the different units, including J-Medics.
Dr. Asaf Biamokama, the president of the senior health officers, wants government to also find ways of uplifting the morale of the doctors and the frontline workers.
Of the people, of the doctors especially, and other health workers who have contacted the virus. Because we are seeing our colleagues dying, and if this continues, I think our morale is going to be very low.
Doctors are also demanding for extra trainings to help them acquire knowledge and skills to help deal with the pandemic.
All of us are training to be specialists, but what is the essence of us being trained and the next day we are on the streets? Yet we have pressing issues like COVID and Ebola that are taking a big number of us.
The president of medical interns in Uganda, Musa Lumumba, has also urged government through the Ministry of Health to create an emergency fund for Ebola.
As a country, through Parliament, can we also come up with an emergency Ebola fund to make sure that we have resources to buy these PPEs, but also to facilitate doctors, nurses, and everyone who is involved at the front line?
According to the World Health Organization, health workers combating dangerous diseases and viruses should always have assurance from their governments that they will be compensated for their efforts, hence being allocated a risk allowance. Kevin Kasoma, CTV PM Edition.
The Bishop of Rwenzori, Nason Baluku, has urged people in his region to be vigilant and follow the precautions by the Ministry of Health to avoid the spread of Ebola. Rwenzori is one of the regions which has previously been affected by the virus, and it also borders the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was severely hit by the pandemic. Take a look.
The recent Ebola outbreak in Mubende district has claimed the lives of at least 8 people, with the latest being a medical doctor, according to the Ministry of Health. Following the outbreak, the Ministry of Health has going to announce guidelines and precautions for members of the public to follow to help curb the spread of the virus.
Just call upon the public to be fully aware that there is this epidemic, and they take further precautions, especially when somebody falls sick. And even for our health workers, they need to be alerted that now they no longer have to handle the cases the way they were handling them.
Other stakeholders who have joined in the fight with Ebola are religious leaders. In a joint meeting with officials from the Ministry of Health, local leaders and the Bishop of Rwenzori, Nason Baluku, advised the public to follow all the guidelines set by the Ministry of Health in order to prevent the spread of Ebola.
All our people in the Kasese district, that as we gather in such a place, we need to take into consideration the precautions that have been given to us by the Ministry of Health and the President himself. People should be able to wash their hands. People should be able to realize and recognize any person with the Ebola signs and make sure that this person is taken to the hospital as soon as possible. I'm encouraging the priests and the lay leaders in the diocese that as long as we continue to worship on Sunday, the precautions must be put in place and every person must ensure him or her washes his or her hand.
The bishop says it's a responsibility of every Christian to protect the lives of the others by ensuring that they live a good health.
As I speak now, as South Sudan Diocese, I don't think that we can transfer a disease from one person to another or the virus from one person to another, because the bishop has to ensure that he has the gloves on his hand and he has to ensure that every time he goes through the line of confirmation, he continues to sanitize the hands in addition to putting on the gloves, even the confirmants themselves.
His message was also re-echoed by the South Rwenzori Diocese Dean, who urged people to report any suspected case to the relevant.
Our believers and all the Christians that we take precautions by not shaking hands, by making sure that we wash all the time, and also making sure that we take preventions as required by Ministry of Health.
Lieutenant Colonel Jowa Lusimbi, the resident district commissioner of Kasese, says they have intensified surveillance systems at the border of Uganda and Congo to reduce illegal entrance. In the past, Kasese district has grappled with epidemics like Ebola, Cholera, COVID-19, and on top of the natural disasters they face, such as landslides and flash floods, among other challenges. Chris Semakola, Martha Amanya, CTV, PM Edition.
The president has urged Christian ministries to help their followers achieve decent standards of living on earth. Now, the president's message was relayed by the Prime Minister Robin Nabanja during the Golden Jubilee celebrations for Bukedi Diocese as they marked 50 years of existence at St. Peter's Cathedral in Tororo.
The Prime Minister of Uganda, Robin Nabanja, was in Bukedi district, representing President Museveni at the Golden Jubilee celebrations of St. Peter's Cathedral in Tororo, where she read the president's message, which urged religious leaders to use the podium to encourage the faithful under their stewardship to work hard.
That besides preparing the believers for their future heavenly home, the religious leaders encourage the faithful under their stewardship to work hard.
In the president's speech, it was highlighted the role of the Church of Uganda in shaping the morals of our society by condemning social ills like corruption, child abuse and sacrifices, early marriages.
I encourage you to continue with such good deeds of compassion and social outreach in your communities.
The Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Dr. Samuel Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, who was the main celebrant at the Jubilee celebrations, asked the people of Bukedi to transcend tribal differences to develop their area.
I am Munyori, Zindi Munyore, Mugwere, Owa Mugwere, Muteso, Mudama, Musamia. We shouldn't discriminate ourselves. We should work together. The church is calling you to develop one another.
He also urged believers to desist from acts of witchcraft.
You see somebody going to heaven after the service. He goes back at witchcraft. That's why we should stop. We shouldn't be hypocritic. Jesus is calling the church here.
The leaders from the area, including the Minister of State for Defense, Jacob Oboth, prayed for the unity of the people and reminded the government
to fulfill the creation of more districts out of Tororo.
The bishop has talked about dividing the diocese, which is very good. I think let's give the bishop a round of applause for that. But also where we are, it is in your hands. Remind His Excellency the President that we just need to know officially what came from London, and this matter will be put to rest.
How I pray, oh God, after 50 years we shall get another name, not to be known as Bakedi only.
The host, Bishop Samuel Wogere Egesa, says the Bukedi Diocese plans to create another diocese as they celebrate 50 years. The Prime Minister later laid a foundation stone for the construction of the Tororo Diocese Jubilee House on behalf of the President. The President donated 80 million shillings to Bukedi Diocese in eastern Uganda, and the Prime Minister also donated 20 million Ugandan shillings towards the construction of the Jubilee House in Tororo Municipality. The day was marked under the theme, Growing in Unity and Self-Sustainability.
In the name of the Father.
PM Edition returns shortly with more stories after the break.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Mugo? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up? The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be paralyzed again.
I will break you, Spooky.
Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. It's your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTime. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTime's channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back to CTV PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Luchamuzi on sign language. Switching to matters health, doctors in Uganda are encouraging men to start going for prostate cancer screening early to help save lives. Each year in the month of September, the whole world gathers to commemorate Prostate Cancer Awareness Month to help raise awareness. Take a look.
Prostate cancer is the second most common cancer among men, and approximately 1 man in 8 will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during his lifetime. In a bid to raise awareness, health experts and advocates every year in the month of September observe the Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. According to Dr. Joseph Mutiaba, a senior medical officer of Lifelink Hospital, men should take note of their early symptoms to prevent a loss of life.
It has not been our culture as community because it involves costs. Someone has to dig in his pocket to go and do a prostate test. It has not been our culture to do this, but we continuously call on the media houses to tell the people about the importance of coming early. Yeah. So awareness is very, very important through all channels of community to ensure that we help our people.
Dr. Mutiaba says that the cancer is also detectable and encourages men to turn up for prostate cancer screening.
So the prostate is very vital in procreation. And after 30 years, it goes on increasing in size for every man. Well, we see many from 30 years, 40, 45, as the years go by. Some, it has increased in size and it causes symptoms.
In 1966, the Gleason grading system was developed to help doctors and patients determine if their prostate cancer is low risk, intermediate risk, or high risk.
Who is at risk of this cancer? If you're a male and you're an African, you're male, you're 45 years. Among tests you're supposed to do every year, it's a simple blood test, PSA. 2, if your first degree relative, your father, your grandfather had the prostate cancer, most likely you may also be at risk. Prostate cancer, it is a myth where people say prostate cancer is for those who have multiple sexual partners. We've seen it killing people who have many wives. We've seen it killing people who have no wife.
Wives, mothers, and friends have also been advised to tell their men to go for the prostate cancer screening.
To them. But it's not only supposed to be doctors, because doctors are very few in this country. If men are waiting for doctors to talk to them to go and do a prostate test, it is not logical. It is us, the women, the mothers, the wives, to reflect about a family when a man has died. Then wake them up to come and do this test, because it has no problem. If you do the prostate for subsequent years and it's negative, it's okay. That's what we want. We want to pick the problem when it has just started.
According to experts, some of the treatment options for prostate cancer include radical prostatectomy, radiotherapy, and hormonal treatment. Hormonal treatment often includes monthly injections with hormonal-altering drugs or oophorectomy, which is the surgical removal of the testes. Currently, there is no prevention for contracting prostate cancer. However, one can reduce risks by maintaining a healthy diet and regular exercise. Sharon Twebaze, CTV, PM Edition.
Thank you, Sharon. In the regional news, the Oromo people of Ethiopia have called for peace in the region, and France have also come out to condemn attacks on the embassy in Burkina Faso.
Oromo people, Ethiopia's largest ethnic group, came together in the capital on Saturday to mark the Thanksgiving festival of Iracha, marking the end of the rainy season. As well as traditional celebrations including dipping flowers into water, the participants appealed for peace. Violence has increased in the Oromia region due to long-standing complaints about a lack of political representation in Ethiopia's federal government. Armed militants and government forces are fighting in several locations in the region. College student Hanan Daud said justice should be served for those whose blood is spilled on the street and burned with their house. University student Latera Rita added, currently there is vast repression on the Oromo people. However, the Oromo people are not surrendering to it. We are overcoming oppression and securing freedom. The Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, said Iracha was a festival celebrated by all nations, nationalities, and peoples of Ethiopia. The Premier further urged Ethiopians to praise God for enabling them to overcome both man-made and natural challenges posed by enemies of the nation and welcome the brighter spring season. He said the celebration promoted peace and love. Angry demonstrators in Burkina Faso attacked the French embassy in the capital, Ouagadougou, on Saturday, 1st October. They were protesting in support of the country's new military leader, Ibrahim Traoré, and accused France of harboring interim president, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Santiago Damiba, who was outstated on Friday. Uncertainty continued in Ouagadougou on Saturday evening after a statement by the army said it did not recognize the seizure of power the previous day by soldiers. The whereabouts of Damiba is unclear, but French authorities have denied any involvement and condemned the violence. In a statement, France said the security of its compatriots was its priority following the military coup. Meanwhile, protesters shouted angry anti-France slogans including "We don't want France anymore," "We no longer want France to be in Africa," and "Down with France." Some added, "We call on Russia," and suggested Russian intervention was preferable to any involvement by their former colonizers. Damiba had promised to tackle jihadist violence, but critics accused him of being too close to France, which maintains a military presence in the region. French spokeswoman Anne Claire condemned the violence against the embassy and said the protests were the work of hostile demonstrators manipulated by a campaign of disinformation against us.
We return shortly with more news from the world of sports.
CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
You are still watching CTV PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Luchamuzi on sign language. In the world of sports, Manchester City have today thumped bitter rivals Manchester United 6-3 to take Manchester Derby in today's early kickoff. Hat-tricks from Phil Foden and Erling Haaland sealed the victory for the team from Etihad, while Marshall's brace and a goal from Anthony gave the Red Devils some consolation. Take a look.
That confidence, that swagger about him. Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Manchester City lead with 7 minutes played. It's the home-grown blue. Stockport-born Phil Foden makes it Manchester City 1. Absolutely dominated by Manchester United, down to 10, and Haaland leaps, and did it go over the line? The referee looks at his watch and says goal. The goal line technology confirming that Erling Haaland's attempt had indeed crossed the goal line, and Manchester United trying to get numbers back. Haaland! 2 goals in 4 minutes for Erling Haaland. Manchester City are putting their local rivals to the sword. Do it now.
What did you say a short time ago?
To the back. De Bruyne was caught late. Haaland. Foden! It's 4 goals in 43 minutes. The reigning Premier League champions are flexing their muscles. All they got is Solskjaer, Ralph Rangnick. First touch from Anthony. And the shot's not bad either. Well, hands down the best moment for the visitors of the afternoon so far. Anthony's second Premier League appearance. He's just grabbed his second goal. De Bruyne. Sergio Gomez. Haaland. Hat-trick. 3 home games in a row in the Premier League. 3 hat-tricks in succession for Erling Haaland. His dad, Alfie, celebrates. Foden. It's another hat-trick. Referee glances over at the assistant, but there's no flag. Hat-trick for Haaland. Hat-trick for Fred. Sight of goal. And it'll be followed up by Anthony Martial. Manchester United get their second. They reduce the deficit to 4. And there hasn't been much to celebrate today. This team battling on late on, and the referee points to the spot. This is going to be a penalty. Match who will attempt to score, and does a well-taken penalty to the postage stamp corner. Anthony Martial's second of the game.
We have come to the end of tonight's edition. Thank you for staying tuned in, and thank you for keeping it CTV. Catch us here, same time, same place. Have yourselves a lovely week. From the entire team, we wish you a good night and be blessed.